What's up everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So gamers are a funny bunch. I made my last video talking about why I thought Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was pretty much a live service game because, Warner Brothers is a business. They see that live service games are making a lot of money and they're going to pursue them until they can find a successful one. Many other corporations and publishers are doing the exact same thing. And somebody concluded from that video that I would only want to shill for Warner Brothers rather than embracing the evidence and the facts. You see, it's a stupid comment nonetheless. If you look through my other videos, you'll see that I've critically pointed out a lot of the different things we were going to see with this game. Things like Stephen Hill leaving, even the audiences responding the way they are to this game right now. It's not a surprise, nor is it a shock to me. But here is something that we have to pay attention to. Every time people come out with these kinds of emotional reactions that don't consider the evidence, I double down. I like to find out what the truth is. I don't necessarily care about preference and all of that stuff because at the end of the day, preference can't necessarily shift anything. The data, the mathematical evidence, and what things are leaning towards in reality is what we're going to face. So here's the thing. I understand a lot of fans would have preferred for Rocksteady to make another superhero game or whatever it is, but you got to understand that Rocksteady is employed or owned, not even employed, owned by Warner Brothers. And Warner Brothers has a fiduciary duty to make its shareholders happy, to make its investors happy. And so they think this is one way they can do it. Also keep in mind that it's not the only thing they're doing. They're making a Wonder Woman game. So if you're not happy with this project, I think Monolith's Wonder Woman is definitely going to do it for you. I know I'm looking forward to that game. But this game right now is indicative of exactly what it is that a lot of players are actually wanting. Or let me put it this way, a lot more players are wanting. I saw a lot of comments saying, a lot of players would love to just play single player games. That's true. But here's another thing that many people haven't considered when they make this statement is a lot more players would prefer a live service game. Look at the data. Let's look at the top selling games, top list of best selling video games. This is just Wikipedia. I don't know if this is up to date. I'm not seeing Spider-Man because I think Spider-Man apparently reportedly sold maybe 30 something million copies. I don't know. I mean, we got to look at the numbers and maybe go back and check why this list has not been updated. But if you look very well at this list and look at the top 10, it's very hard for you to be able to see how many single player games were able to crack into this and even at what number they were able to crack into this. So let's just look at the numbers. Minecraft is pretty much the highest selling game. You look at Grand Theft Auto, $175 million. This is GTA 5, basically one of the best selling entertainment pieces of software ever, but it's still lagging behind Minecraft. Tetris, Wii Sports, PUBG, which is a live service game, live service shooter. Mario Kart Deluxe 8, which is an exclusive. Super Mario Brothers, Red Dead Redemption 2, which cracked that 50 million, thing. Then you have Pokemon, Terraria, man, I don't even know what most of these games are. Tetris, I know. Pac-Man, I know. Animal Crossings, and then The Witcher. It took a while before an exclusively single-player game was able to break into this list. Now, you could call these other games maybe world-building games or whatever it is, but Red Dead Redemption is a single-player game, but it does have a live service element to it that on top of this 50 million copies that were sold, it's going to be monetizing. So if you're an analyst and you have a job working with a publisher and they say, hey man, what are the best selling games and how can we leverage that market? You're going to look at the data and you're going to come out with, we need a live service game. So they're going to try as much as they possibly can to get a live service game going, regardless of how you feel. You see, I saw a lot of people citing God of War and Elden Ring and all these games. I like all these games. I own all these games on multiple platforms. I spend more money on these games than the average gamer because I like them. Do you have 2 copies of Elden Ring? I do. Do you have 3 copies of God of War? I do. Because I like these games. I buy multiple copies of them because I want to support these particular incentives. But the truth is, we cannot spend or outspend the live service game. So these companies are going to continue to pursue them. And your emotions are not going to change it, except we continue to find these projects that are actually getting the job done and continue to just rally around them. Are we going to be seeing the companies even still continue to pay attention to them? You know what's even worse? In all of this Activision Blizzard talk, Sony and their sanctimony got exposed. One of my audience members, Ghost, you pointed this out, and I heard the news the other day, because apparently Sony has been taking a bunch of their money that they actually make from games like Call of Duty and other shooters, basically Call of Duty, a live service game, to make its single player games. So they're using their live service money to make these so-called single player games in order for them to make you think that that's what they're prioritizing, when in reality, that's just one layer. The second layer is that they're keeping you locked in their Sony ecosystem so that you can spend more money and they can monetize you over and over again. They even see how profitable it is that they're making about 10 or 11 live service games. They took Horizon Zero Dawn and they're actually getting a spin-off of a live service game. Yet people are telling me that more gamers want live service games. More does not equal you, does not equal me. Just because I want more live service games or more single player games doesn't mean that everybody else wants a single player game. It means that there seems to be a big market that is actually, or I would say there seems to be a bigger market share that is looking at the live service thing, which is very interesting. So how do we proceed from here? How do we actually move on? How should you respond? At the end of the day, that's a question that you have to answer by yourself. I mean, I can't really tell you how to spend your money or what to spend your money on. I know that there are other single player games that have been misconstrued as live service games. You know, I mean, Gotham Knights, everybody was like, oh, this looks like a live service game. Yeah, they see Suicide Squad, which is a live service game, and like, yeah, we'll just give it a try. We'll need to know because Rocksteady. I'm like, bro, Rocksteady is not just Rocksteady. Rocksteady belongs to Warner Brothers. If you have to actually make that distinction, or at least try to make it seem like it's distinct, when in reality there isn't much of a difference, you're just playing the same game and you're being a pawn in the same moves. You just got to accept it and say, you know what? I like some games and I don't like some games, and I like some developers, and even if they make a game that I feel like I'm not going to like, I'll still probably check it out because it's that developer. That's be simple, and that would be much more respectable. Because this entire, gamers talking about, oh, we only want single player games and blah, blah, blah. To me, it's a joke, because it's not like the companies are not making the single player games. They are, but they're just trying to make more money. Maybe when they make more money, they'll probably, from Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, we'll probably get our Superman game like Sony is, where they basically take all their licensing fees from a lot of these games, by the way. Think about it, because these games, they were on a PlayStation platform and they paid their licensing fees to PlayStation, and PlayStation was able to use it to churn out one of those God of Wars and one of those Last of Us games and so on and so forth. If you're a gamer, you ought to know how business works. If you don't know how business works, you're going to sound like an infant, because this is just the reality of in our world today. These games don't, they're not cheap to make. So these companies want to farm as much money as they can out of all of them. And even if it's at the cost of making IPs look like, actual, nonsense, they'll do it. Look at Ubisoft. Ubisoft decided that they were going to make a Ghost Recon Frontline game, a battle royale, which, to be honest, I don't really care anyways. But the fans were like, nah, man, we don't want that. And they eventually disappeared that from existence. But this is what most of these companies are wanting to do right now. I think the solution is actually much simpler. Like I said, I don't want to tell anybody what to do with their money. You can support indie titles. Indie is now the new AAA, or maybe not necessarily indie, but AA or upcoming, developers in the single player space that continue to bring out games to serve this audience. What we need to do in these audiences is hard, fast, support games like this. Wolong comes out in a few hours from when I'm making this video officially. Support the game. If you have Game Pass, sure, you might play the game on Game Pass for free, but if you do like the game, maybe take out that $60 and pay those developers so that they can make you another Wolong. Because if you play it on Game Pass and you walk away, don't expect that they're going to just maybe one day feel the need to just go ahead and churn out another single player game, because these single player games cost a lot of money to make, in keeping with the competition who have access to things like taxpayer money, rebates, and all of that here in the West that many of these other companies may not necessarily have access to. And so you really need to understand how the economies work within these things. I wish I could sit there and give an economics class on this whole stuff, but you know what? I don't think it's necessary this afternoon. I just wanted to go ahead and say, that gamers, we need to think deeper into the financial aspect of video games. Don't run around with YouTubers that only inflame your emotions just so that they can make you mad so that you can click their videos. Many of them actually know the truth, but they ignore it, because if they don't outrage or create outrage, they're not going to get clicks. Nobody wants to hear the level-headed guy that's trying to maybe look at things in a balance. Everybody just wants to be mad. And so if I'm not giving you mad, you then eventually start calling me names. It's not going to do anything. I'm just going to keep giving you the facts, because that's exactly what it's all about. The facts. They don't really care about your feelings, for real. Peace out.